Hello! Today in class we will learn what equations in mathematics are called linear equations with two variables. We are already familiar with the concept of an equation. It is an equality in which the variable is recorded, but we know how to solve linear equations with one variable. And in general, we talked about the equation. In high school, we will study nonlinear equations. In general, the term linear equations indicates that the graph of this function will be a line. But today in class, we will write down the standard form of a linear equation with two variables. We have learned to solve equations, but with one variable. For example, if we see the equation 2x equals 8, then we know that x will be equal to 4. And 4 will be the root of the equation. What is the root of an equation? The fact is that the root of an equation or the solution of an equation is called such a value of the variable, which, when substituted into the original equation, gives a true numerical equality. Thus, if I substitute 4 for x, I will end up with 2 times 4 equals 8. On the left side, the product equals 8. On the right side, there is an 8. As a result, we obtain a correct numerical equality. And then we can say that x is a root. But this is an equation with one variable. In mathematics, we will also work with equations with two variables. For example, if I write the following equation, x minus y equals 6, then in this case, we will be talking about a linear equation with two variables. We see two variables, but we say that this equation is linear. Why is this equation called linear? I already told you that the graph of this function will be a line, but if we, without plotting the graph of this function, determine whether it is linear or nonlinear, we will refer to the following rule. If the variables are written in the first degree and the degree of the equation is 1, then such equations are called linear equations. So the degree of this equation is 1. I will write it down. The degree of this equation is 1. How did I find out? The fact is, to determine the degree of an equation, we consider the highest degree of the variables. And in our case, the variable x is to the first degree, and the variable y is also to the first degree. Therefore, the degree of this equation is 1. If I write the equation xy equals 8, then this equation will be a second degree equation. Why second degree? The fact is that the first term is the product of two variables x and y. And the variable x is to the first power. If the power is not written, it is always the first power. And the variable y is also to the first power. Then, when multiplying, we must add the exponents. 1 plus 1 equals 2. And in the second term, the variable y is to the first power, but we write down the highest degree of the equation. Then, this equation will not be considered a linear equation. And the first equation is a linear equation. We will work with linear equations. A linear equation with two variables can be written in 3 forms. Let's write down these forms. The first form is the standard form. I will write it down. Standard form. This equation will look like the following: x plus y plus c equals 0. And in this form, x and y will be variables. And as we can see, these are two variables. A and B are coefficients. The second form in which a linear equation with two variables can be written is the following form: A equals mx plus b. In this case, our m will denote the slope, and b is the y-intercept. Thus, I will write that the value of the variable b is the y-intercept. And then, knowing this value, we can always write the point, the intersection of the function's graph with the y-axis. And this point will look as follows: 0 on the x-axis and b on the y-axis. There is another form of a linear equation with two variables. This form looks as follows: y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Two types of standard form and the definition of the intersection point with the y-axis and the slope coefficient we will use with u at the stage of studying mathematics, and we will use the third type when studying algebra in high school. In the next lesson, we will learn how to find the roots of an equation with two variables. Our lesson for today has come to an end. Goodbye. See you next time.